female. The question is, how do we socialize our children, and especially the boy child? Very early, at infancy, toddlerhood, very well protected. Early childhood, protection eases. Then probably at the teen, I begin to tell my son, you begin to tell your son, you are man enough. You don't cry, be man enough. By the time he's in his youth, I am like, go and fend for yourself.
Okay.
So there is pressure from the family, from the community, from the society, and for him to be able to prove that he's man enough and he can fend for himself, then in most cases he gets himself into crime. We should ask ourselves, what preventive measures should we undertake? And does it involve a sector-wide approach so that we have a lot of people preventing either gender from getting into crime or from getting into offense? And now straight getting into your question, the difference between the two. A victim is that person who has been aggrieved.
Okay.
A certain right has been taken away from you. A certain privilege has been taken away from you, either through crime or offense by somebody else who you are not in agreement with.
Okay.
If I decide to take your nice necklace, maybe grab it in the streets, then you are a victim.
And you are the offender.
I am the offender.
Okay.
No, the offender is the opposite. It is a person who actually does the crime.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we have more male. Actually, there is an African saying that says, if you don't give a boy warmth at the family level, he will burn the entire village to get the warmth. He will want to prove a point. So I do not know whether they really want to prove a point or it is because of the kind of pressure that we have given unto them. And also you'll find that in most cases, you'll find that a lot of our children have gone, and I'm sorry to say this because I want to mention media. Media influence, the kind of soap operas they watch probably, the kind of adverts, I would like to be so and so, I don't have the money, probably there is negative peer influence, probably the parents have abandoned them and they have to fend for themselves, they have to meet their basic needs, then they find themselves getting into offense. The only challenge again we have is that our court system, our criminal justice system focuses more on the offender in terms of what does the law say in regards to the offense you have committed. It's not about you are human, it's not about we can give you a second chance, it doesn't focus about that. It is you are here and therefore we either acquit you or convict you. And after a judge passes his ruling, no one gets bothered. If I'm the one offended, I would be happy, let him go and rot in jail. But from a human perspective, from my spirituality in terms of forgiveness, that is not there. Even when he's in that jail, I'll be like, okay, he was sentenced for 5 years, now he's in for 4 years.
And you know, sometimes, Christine, when the offender is left free, sometimes they go celebrating, like, I did what I wanted to do. I actually achieved what I have been wanting to do in the longest time. But no one thinks about the victim who is hurting, who has lost, who has been robbed of something. They are all thinking of prosecuting the offender, punishing him, and doing whatever justice requires that be done to them. Who actually takes care of the offender? Talking about who takes care of the victim, right? Sorry. So who gets into the level of the victim's feelings and how they get over it and how they're able to restore what they have lost. We talked about the court annexed mediation previously.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, how does the court sit down to decide this case, we are going to annex it to have mediation process outside, but this we've got to handle? Are there some cases that are taken to court that are kind of petty or not worth being listened to by the judge, that now the judge decides we're going to annex this? Because right now our CJ is trying to decongest the courts, and that's one of the ways that he's using. So how does a case get to you as a mediator? And when that happens, are you also similar to the courts? There is focusing on the offender, you know, leaving aside the victim, who, in my opinion, needs more care.
Thank you. Actually, that leads to question 2 and 3. But let me talk about how different is it as I'm talking about the victim, who cares for the victim. Number one, the difference between the victim-offender mediation, unlike other forms of mediation, is that with the two, they are not disputants.
Okay.
The victim has been offended. The offender has had what we would call he's had his way.
Yes. The victim is kind of innocent.
The victim is innocent.
Yes.
And now
but the disputants, they are both having issues. They have both caused the offense or the crime, or they are both fighting over something.
Yes, because like I said previously, the disputants will either have positions because of their perspectives. One of them may probably have more power than the other, and probably the one who has more power will prefer to fight. The one who has no power will prefer to walk away.
Yes.
But in this case, the victim, like I said, has been offended.
Yeah.
And that is why the victim would want to know why. Let me use the example that I have just alluded. Why did you grab my necklace? Who are you with? And then probably I would be able to give my reasons why I grabbed your necklace, why I didn't politely come to you. And I'll probably say I was either alone or with other people. And that way, I'm more interested in listening to you. I'm more interested in asking you questions I need to listen in order to heal. And a very typical example that we have in this side of East Africa is the case of Rwanda after the genocide.
Yes.
Most of the victims were more interested in knowing the perpetrator. They were more interested in knowing why. The why. And what did you do? Why did you do this? What did you do? etc. Other than probably what will come to shortly in terms of what are you going to
and the perpetrator is gone then.
In our case now, looking at a scenario of the petty offenders that you're talking, you have just mentioned, our court annexed system, the other time I said, what they do, they screen.
Okay.
Because we all know the best place we can do is court. And the courts are congested. So what they do, they will screen. This case, no, this is not suitable for hearing, either by a magistrate or by a judge. This one should go for mediation.
Yes.
And therefore now, when it comes to the mediator in the victim offender, number one, and I don't know whether I will be answering another question that probably you may ask me, but let me say it now. Number one, I will not need to meet you separately. You know, like I told you previously, you can either do the joint session and then the caucusing. And caucusing meaning we are meeting the two disputants separately so that they cool up their negative energy for them to be able to face the other. In victim offender mediation, the victim is given a say because he will want to ask questions. The offender is also given a say. The offender is even prepared to meet the victim, to either do what I told you, the conciliatory gestures,
or the restoration.
To say, I am sorry, I did 1, 2, 3 to you because the why now, I stole the necklace from you because either I was hungry and needed to sell it to buy some food or otherwise. And in this case also, the victim will be more than happy to hear the offender apologize or probably return that which had been taken away. And I know probably somebody will say, supposing it had been used, or supposing it is something that had that cannot be returnable, if there is such a word in English, what then is going to happen? But the main focus is to bring these people together and take back them into the society. Why? When you are in prison, when the offender is in prison, he may be there for 2 or 3 years or 10 years, it doesn't matter. What society will he come back to after his sentence is over? Will they be willing to forgive him? And as much as we say that crime is not a community career, it is also important to note that even if it is an individual offended, this individual is part of the community.
True.
If I go to a traditional setup, probably where people kept livestock, if I come to your boma at night and take one of your cow and you'd milk that and neighbors would come for milk in the morning, then it would mean by taking your cow, indirectly I'm also affecting those who would come for the milk in the morning.
Yeah.
And what you earlier said, that if one is set free, he'll be like, oh yes, I did it. It's not about that. Let me tell you something.
How will the offender come back and be willing to meet with the victim and their consequences? Because if I have committed crime by breaking the law, you know, the thing that makes me run away and not want me to feature in the society is the fact that there is punishment, you know. There's punishment, there are consequences to my deeds. How do I just show up? I mean, people commit whatever kind of crime and run away just because there is punishment. If there was no punishment, everybody would live however they want. So what makes it easy for an offender to be willing to return and have a round table meeting with a victim? And there are any consequences when it comes to mediation, unlike the courts?
Thank you. What makes him or her come back? Going back to the question that I said we may not answer now because it may take us very far. What leads people to commit offense or to
It's
commit
natural.
crime?
It's just human.
And there are those who, no, there are certain drivers. It is human, yes, but there are certain drivers into committing the crime.
Okay.
And there are those whose conscience will be so clear that the afterthought, I think I shouldn't have done it.
Yes.
I wish I'm given an opportunity. And I've had so many ex-convicts say, I wish I knew.
Yes, let's talk about those ones. Those ones who are remorse about whatever crimes they have committed and they're willing to calm down and talk about it. These are the only ones, I guess, you can have mediation with. Can you really talk to those who have run away and are not willing to come back?
The unfortunate bit will be if you don't know where they are.
Yes.
But those who do it, and let me tell you, deep in our villages, in our own country, even without going very far,
we know
in most cases we know who, yes, we know where they are, we know who the offender is, but we are like, dare you say it?
Okay.
Because
so how do you mediate?
your neck at night?
How do you mediate?
And that is why now mediation comes in, other than going to court, because the court will look at the law. Like, thou shalt not steal, you stole. Thou shalt not steal, you killed. That is why now mediation is different, because somebody will always tell you so and so did this crime. And therefore the mediator, in collaboration with the gatekeepers of that community, will go to the offender. And like I have said, and I want to insist this, they will talk to the offender, because the offender must agree to admit guilt.
Yes.
Not that we are just letting you scot-free. You must be ready to number one, admit guilt. Number two, meet the victim. Number three, in case there is any reparation for what you did, in what we call restorative justice, then you must be ready. You must be ready to do that. So there will be a way. We know where they are. It only takes somebody to be bold enough to go and say, come, and this is what we are doing. But I can tell you, many of them, even those ex-offenders, are like, I wish I didn't do it. Or in the case somebody passed on, it is even worse for them. Their conscience is like, I wish I had an opportunity to meet the person and say how sorry I am. But we are not saying that let us mediate, let us not follow the law, because probably they will be happy out there.
I really want to hear, Christine, how you handle such kinds of cases as a mediator. You have said it really well, that when we take such issues to the courts of law, then the law is there and they will be dealt with accordingly, and probably end up not just in reprimand but eventually in prison, you know, which is such a misfortune even for the society and the families that are left behind. But let's look at, you have said very well that you know them. You even know where they are. Take a scenario where this is just a son in the neighborhood. He has come into your house and broken up and picked your television set and gone away with it and went and sold it, you know. And you know that is the offender. This person is the victim, right? How are they supposed to coexist without you as this mother taking him to the court of law. So what I will do, I will get you, the mediator, right? How do you start? How do you handle such a case? Christine, this is my neighbor's son. He stole my television set. He lives here in Githurai, Huruma, or where with me. I need to continue living with the parents in the same neighborhood setup. How do you come in as a mediator and let us continue living together?
Question number one, is there truth that indeed he took your TV set?
Okay.
If there is, then what you have talked about, peaceful coexistence, that is what I'll want to maintain to the end.
Yes.
And for me to maintain this, I will approach, if there is truth that indeed this is the person who committed the offense, then I'll take it upon myself.
Okay.
And through my own negotiation and communication skills, I'll be able to talk to this person in a way that I'll bring him to a level that, given an opportunity, are you willing to meet the persons whose TV set you took? Because in my mind, I want to imagine that if I took him to court, maybe yes, he may be asked, how much was that TV? Probably 20,000 shillings. You'll be given the 20,000 shillings, but money isn't everything. You'll have got back either your TV or you'll be compensated 20,000 shillings in place of the TV. But because money is not everything, in terms of peaceful coexistence, in terms of what Jesus said, go and sin no more, in terms of whatever you do to the rest of your brothers, tutakuwa tukikutana tu kwa barabara kwa kijiji, and I'm like, that guy. But I want us to forget. And
the people who don't have such feelings.
No, we are looking at, without looking at probably the few negative. I want to believe in this country, in this world, there are many men and women of God who are like, even some of them say, nimemsamehe. And probably even gives this person some piece of work to be doing. If this person probably said, I did this because I was hungry or I didn't have food, not all people will be like, it's very unfortunate, Betty, the way we have been socialized. I don't know by who, I don't want to comment, but we are like, I cannot forgive over my dead body. But in mediation we say, it is about peaceful coexistence, like you have said. It's about forgiveness, specifically victim offender, it is about reparation. Because even if the person is not able to pay the 20,000 shillings, there is another alternative. If he cannot return the TV, probably because he sold, or he cannot pay money equal to the amount that I bought, the other alternative would be to do what we call community work, equivalent to that. But someone, mwenye halidhiki, will always be like, no, but how can you go work for the community and yet it is me you stole from and not the community? We are looking at the positive side. How do we help the two? How do we even help this offender that he is able to learn his lesson, that next time now, he does not come now from the TV to stealing your nice car? How can we prevent that?
I get you really well. But let's look at this offender who has made this a habit. You don't wake up one morning and desire to steal a TV set from somebody's house. This is something you have seen, you have processed it in your mind, and eventually you now actualize it, right? This person has made this a kind of lifestyle because of what you mentioned initially, that the boy child has to be strong and take care of themselves. And without a job or something formal or some white collar kind of, they have to survive in this kind of way by picking your TV and selling it. The easy way would be, take me to court. And if you take me to court, what do? I pay out my cash bail and I am out. I took it out to the judges on the back door and I am out. We have heard of such things. How many times have you committed traffic offense and paid cash bail and you never reported to court and you still went ahead doing your normal poor driving and you were still caught up in such issues? So you go to court, pay off your cash bail, you are out, you're back to the society with a lot of pride, like I walked out of the crime that I committed. I am still supposed to coexist with you. How does mediation help me? Because in the court, it is CAP Act, whatever says this.
Quite true.
How different does mediation come in and help me in not just punishing me for the wrong I have done, but in restoring justice and the kind of person that I now am, and that the victim also remains fulfilled, so that we now talk about the peaceful coexistence. Because if you went to court and paid cash bill and you're back, man, tomorrow I know you're coming for my table.
Let me tell you, Betty,
Yes.
one thing. And you have talked about the lifestyle this person is used. Why is he used to stealing? That yesterday it was addressed outside hanged. Nobody either saw me, or even if somebody saw me and nobody talked, then today I have the audacity to break the door. It is because in most cases we keep quiet. We keep quiet and we pile and we pile and we pile. Just like you rightly put it earlier on, that we know where the offenders are, but we don't want, because they will come for our neck in the night. So you are like, I would rather cover evil than let somebody else say it. But let it not me. So I would rather cover evil. And that is why sometimes I ask, there are so many, let me use the word religious people in this country. But the question is, do we practice our religiosity as it is from Monday to Sunday, but do we practice it only from Monday to Friday? Do we? And even the issue of, like, you mentioned traffic. We are so used. No, you know, the traffic officer caught me. I don't have the time to spend going to court. I don't know what. So let me give you 1,000 shillings and I go away. So I am used that whenever I'm driving, I should have 1,000 shillings. Why? Supposing there was one officer who took me and said, I'm even going to take you to court because you're trying to bribe me, and yet you have an offense. How come in most cases when your car would, God forbid, get smashed a bit by another, you are like, let's talk. And let's get out of the road haraka sana before any traffic officer passes here and there is a case now for him to probably eat from, or otherwise. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? And I want to tell you from where I sit, there are many who even have been like very adamant. No, it's about the law, the cap you're talking about. But 1 year or 2 years or a few months down the line, you see them saying, going to tell their lawyer or going to tell the judge or magistrate, we talked. We were able to settle it out of court. Because, like I'm saying, you need to go a little further into seeing how do I now restore this person. And this is where now I would bring in our community, the so-called village elders, the community policing, our clergy out there, our government. In the first place, I think I should begin there. Do we have certain social programs that identify such vulnerable people? And we know if we leave them loose, if we have nothing for them, surely they will go for people's necks, or they will go for people's TVs, or they will go for people's handbags. Do we have? Number two, has the government been able, and I want to appreciate, because there are so many people who are doing a lot of advocacy, trying to push them and tell them, can we have a lot of funding? Because most people who commit a lot of offense, if you look at them, they are in their mid-30s, early 30s, early 20s. There are those who, and let us not just look at stealing the TV or probably being involved in a road accident, another vehicle hitting you. Offenders include what we are reading in the papers every day. A lot of children are being defiled. So, for example, if my husband defiled my child who is 4 months or 3 days or whatever, and then I say, nimemsamehe, what will he do tomorrow to the neighbors? Because of kusamehewa, we know and we keep quiet. But if we decided to take action, brother or no brother, neighbor or no brother, because we want this person to learn.
So you are saying,
let me wind up this. Remember, Christ himself, if I talk from a Christian perspective, came to save us, but on our judgment day, he'll be judging us. So that does not mean that I save you day one because you have stolen, we mediate. Day two, it does not mean that if you steal, I'll not take you to court. If you are very persistent in that which you are doing, and we had a mediation, and we talked to you, you were quite apologetic. You even gave some reparation for what you had done. And then we get you in another similar offense. But remember also, you don't just do the reparation and we leave you at that. The question is, how do we rehabilitate you so that you stop the preferring, that is the taking of the small things, and you are able to be in your own gainful livelihood. That is where a lot of, including NGOs, have come up with certain projects to income generating activities to try and sustain these people, to teach them some skills. For some time, I did some projects in Korogocho. Right here, not very far. And I remember very well, and I don't know whether Father Webotsa, you are watching this, the Komboni priests at Christ the King Kariobangi North were actually going deep into Korogocho, and they were talking to those people in terms of, can you open up? Can you open up who is? And they are like, tunajua lakini hatuwezi kukwambia lest they know it is me. And when they eventually identified the key people who make others not sleep in the night, what they did was to look for programs for them. Sustainable programs, income generating activities. There are so many. Some would say, I need a little kiosk. Another one would say, I need a grocery. You are so preoccupied with that that you not remember to go to somebody's house in the evening or probably to steal. I know it is possible, it can work. And
if I hear you well, Christine, are you telling us that as a society or community, one of the ways we go wrong is we keep our mouth shut from mentioning the offenders, and this is why these issues keep recurring?
One way, yes. One way, yes. And the Bible is very clear. Several books of the Bible say, if your brother has done something wrong, go to him and correct him. If you don't correct him, if he passes on before being corrected or correcting himself, his blood shall be on you. We know and we keep quiet.
Okay, so we have reported this person and we have confirmed this is the guy who took away your phone.
Or this is the one who defiled.
Yes, or this is the one who defiled. You know, how do you now as a mediator start? Because as a victim, I want justice and I probably want it now. And that now depends on how you as a professional certified mediator comes in. Because in most likely cases, I want my things restored now. And I don't want the offender to be given a break, not a breather, not at all. So when you come in, we have told you the cases, all things are confirmed. Yes, it is true. How do you now start? I wish that we get into that so that we are able to help somebody out, lest someone who is watching us think that this is just another discussion. I just still have to go to court. Right. We will do that after the break. So viewer, we are taking a short break talking about victim offender, part of Alternative Justice Part 2. I'm here with Christine. Please do send us your questions and engage us in this discussion. Coming back shortly. Over 3/4 of Africa, the under 35s.
We are the 77%.
They want to shape the continent's future. Be part of it and join African youngsters as they share their stories, their dreams, and their challenges. The 77%, DW's platform for Africa's majority.
님 운명하셨습니다.
좀 넘쳐.
자,
이 집 식구예요.
인생 뭐 있습니까?
일식
느껴져요, 선생님의 심장.
소방님!
인생 1일 드라마 기막힌 유산.
내가 정말 죽었단 말이야? 어?
We make up over 3/4 of Africa, the under 35s.
We are the 77%.
They want to shape the continent's future. Be part of it and join African youngsters as they share their stories, their dreams, and their challenges. The 77%, DW's platform for Africa's majority.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. We are still on with victim offender mediation. So Christine is here, the professional certified mediator. Glad to have you. And we had actually gotten to the level where we have now confirmed, you know, the offender has admitted, have done this. And so what are the options moving forward with this kind of discussion, you know, with you now as the third party who is planning to restore? So someone may actually say, the offender may admit and say, okay, I will pay. How much? You know? And the victim will also say, fine, I will wait. What do you do after that when they have already agreed? Is it just about my phone was 20,000, here it is, and that is all, and the victim is fine? How do you deal now with the fear of, you know, the future?
Like I earlier said that money is not everything.
Yes.
Because even that money that I give you must not just come from my bounty because I have. Or because probably I'm going to work somewhere and I'm fearing going to jail, so I would rather give you the money. It's about maintaining and enhancing our future relationships.
Yes.
That, like you said, if it is my neighbor, tomorrow we'll still say hi and bye to each other. That my neighbor will not pass and I look at the other way. So the process of rehabilitating this person and reintegrating the person. Of course, a few people may have heard that X took something belonging to Y.
Yes.
Word has gone in the
round.
estate or in the village, wherever word has gone round. And therefore they'll be looking at the X like, you don't belong to our camp anymore. We have an opportunity to reintegrate this person. And that is why when we are coming into the mediation, we will need the community representative in that mediation. Because I may not be coming from that estate or from that county or from that village. Probably I'll be a referral. But long after I have gone, he or she will need to be left behind with a mentor.
Okay.
Remember, this is what we agreed. Remember, you said these were your issues, these were your challenges. And we went through this, and now we would want to get you again using the word alternative, an alternative way of how do you live, because you will need to live. We need to change you. We don't want to take you to a Boston home where minors are usually taken. We don't want to take you to court. After all, we have settled this matter. The third party here, in the name of a community elder, is very key.
Okay.
And it's very unfortunate that in most cases, and especially in the estates, a lot of community elders do not know everybody, because today I'm in this house, next I've moved to another estate, and things like that.
Yeah.
And even number two, in the urban area, they may not, many of them may not have identities, as in, I'll come and knock at your door and probably I'm going to produce my card to show that I'm in the community policing, or I'm a village elder. But when all is said and done, we will always need a third party, not a relative, because the relative may be more subjective than objective, but we need who is the head of this. And remember, we are talking of community leaders. We are not even talking of the provincial administration in terms of the chief. Because if the chief comes, he'll be like the judge you talked about, CAP, article, etc. We need somebody who is assuming that this person is collectively supported and this is person respected. And remember, in my last presentation, I said your own integrity will even make people accept you. So we leave it at the door of this community leader to mentor you and coach you. That does not mean that I have gone forever. Occasionally, I want to meet you for follow-up and updates on how you have been. But I may not be with you on day to day, but the community leader will. In the event now that you don't reform,
yes.
Now, yes, we sorted out your case. Was it the TV? Was it the necklace? Was it whatever? But now I decide I am going to person C, because probably I think person C does not know the issue of mediation. At the end of the day, the network is there. It will still be known that it was the same Mr. X. That is why, like I earlier said, we cannot continue mediating and mediating and mediating. Then they will reach a point of hili ni sikio lisilosikia. So now this is a time now to go to court. So it is not that we mediate forever. At one time, once or twice years we mediated, but this person was like, after all, I think this was an easy way. And don't forget, it is a punishment also, because even if you mediate and you do whatever reparation you are to do, the estate or the village will still know, yes, he had been caught. So there is this third person who is always left. In the event, just before you ask that, in the event, and I want to say a lot of salute to our policemen. There are many who have studied mediation, and I want to give you a simple example. In Kibra in 2008, when everybody was in the streets and the whole country was burning and there were a lot of youth coming and burning their tires, if you remember very well, there was this police GSU. He was GSU who was able to calm the people. He talked to them using his negotiation skills, and we did not hear of any burning in Kibra or elsewhere. And this is what I was about to say. In the event the matter has been referred, and that is why we would advocate even for the training of more police officers in matters of mediation. In that event, the police officer will say, this we are not taking to court, but I know I can refer a mediator to you. But in the event that this policeman refers, and then after a year or two, the very gentleman or lady is brought with a similar or different offense, then he will not hesitate to take legal action. But as much as possible, what we would want to do is, can we get out of courts? Can we look at ways of solving our issues at our level, and where we have an opportunity for both talking? Last time, remember, we said when a matter is taken to court, we leave it to the judge or the magistrate and the lawyers. But we do not have either the disputants talking. Again, even in this case, I do not think there is an opportunity, and if it is very rare, where you have either the offender or the victim talking, we'll leave it to the lawyer if we take it to court. Now, in our case of mediation, they talk, and let me tell you, there are even certain victims who, when they ask the questions and they get the answer, it's kind of a psychological debriefing. They are okay, and they'll be like, I am satisfied with what this person has said. Others will say, I am satisfied, yes, but I will need a return of my item or a compensation of the same. The beauty is, and last time I talked about different negotiation styles, and I told you disputants, many of them will actually want to compromise. Many of them, I told you, will want to avoid this case. But in victim offender mediation, many of them actually will want a situation whereby they are not competing, but they will need a situation whereby both of them agree and resolve their issue.
Yes. Before we get to the questions that I'm receiving here from our viewers, think about the scenario where the victim is not willing to forgive and the offender is not willing to restore.
Thank you.
What does the mediator do?
There is nothing to do, because you cannot persuade them. Remember what I told you, what a mediator does. Last time I told you about
so that means you end up in court.
A mediator is neutral, does not give a decision. The option will be going to court. And remember last time I told you it is usually two-way. There are cases that take too long, a lot of money is used, so they move from the court to mediation. There are others that now will move from mediation, and in this particular case, if the victim is not ready to listen or forgive, if the offender is not ready to admit guilt or even to repay, then the case is moved to court. And therefore, the law takes its course.
So it has to move to court.
Yes. How do you resolve two people who one does not want to admit, who everybody knows or even the victim knows it was Mr. X, but Mr. X does not want to admit, then you'll move it. Yeah, because although there are other people who will say, nimekuachia Mungu, and I'm sure you have heard that Kiswahili phrase very often. You don't want to admit, lakini nimekuachia Mungu, but you'll find many going to court.
Okay, I have Agnes Wangoi. Thank you so much for watching. She's asking, who can freely admit guilt?
They are there. All people are not the same. I told you it's about your conscience. There are many people who are ready to say, yes, I did it. Yes. Unless I am, you know, in most cases it is, if I am socialized as a diehard in terms of never say die. I can never say I did it, but there are many people who are more than willing to say, yes, I did it, and probably try to justify, give the circumstances under which they committed the offense. There are people who will. There may be a significant number, but again, we can say out of 10, if one admitted, that is one soul regained.
That works best for mediation. Okay. There's John Gitonga, very interesting. He's asking, is mob justice a form of alternative justice?
No. Actually, Gitonga. Actually, no, it's good because, you know, one thing I like about mediation is that mediators are open-minded. Mediators receive whatever information, whatever they are told, because that is somebody's perspective. And actually what we say, that is not even mob justice, it is mob injustice. Kwa Kiswahili wanasema ya kuwa ni kuchukua sheria mikononi mwako. Let me tell you,
I can imagine, Christine, I can imagine what John Gitonga is feeling at this point. There's this person who has been here constantly committing crime, and everyone fears to mention him. Why? And even if he is mentioned, he will go to court and have his way back. He will go for mediation and not admit the guilt. What do? You just corner him one day and do the mob justice. I feel this is what John is now expressing.
Again,
why do people have to go through mob justice?
Again, like I said, it depends on the perspective. We know, yes, there are people who will do so many evils out there, and I don't want to start analyzing the kind of evils they do. And they will get their way out. Number one, remember what I said in our previous session is that the courts will rely on facts, evidence, and the law.
Yes.
So if you take me to court and the judge or magistrate does not find facts or evidence or law, you definitely see me in the estate the next day.
Yes.
And I'll be like, here I am.
Yeah.
But is my lawyer preparing my case in such a way there'll be evidence, there'll be evidence and there'll be facts about it so that I am not acquitted. Number two, there is the issue of, like we have said, and I wish our people would come out clean, that we did not fail to report. We did our best to report it, but no action was taken. And I keep telling people, is it possible for us to document so that we have evidence? Yes, I went to the chief, and I don't want to talk about chiefs because they are my good friends. They asked me to come to go and train them. But I'm only giving them as an example. I went to the chief. Thanks, because for the police, they usually give that a small OB thing. You can say, yes, I've reported several times. Such that in the event something happens, then I should seek a higher authority. And let me say this, I'm happy because the access to justice in our country, in my view, and for those who are actually more exposed, is becoming more clearer than it was before. That before, even people would not have an opportunity. I gave you the case of where we have what we call court users committee. But the magistrate or the judge says, leo hakuna kesi tutasikiza, we will go out there in the marketplace or outside the office, and the common mwananchi will come saying hi to me. or hi to us, the prosecutor and everything, everybody
Just
else.
at that point,
way,
just at that point.
That way, you are able to be more free, because while many people don't report, they are like, ati ulimuona wapi na saa ngapi na walikuwa na nani, ingia ndani utupatie ushahidi zaidi. So someone is like, I don't want to be dragged in these matters. I have to keep going to court to provide evidence, going to court to provide evidence. I am busy.
At that point where there's so much liberty, Christine, I have Robert, who is asking how effective the alternative justice that Maraga has initiated, how has it been so far?
Thank you, Robert. One, it is actually not Maraga's, but it is our constitution.
Okay.
Remember, I said if you go to our constitution, Article 159, 2, and specifically C, that's where we have the different alternative forms of justice or dispute resolution. It is effective to those who know. And remember, I gave an example of arbitration the other time, and how it was handled in our own country. Mediation has been working. I think in Kenya, if I'm not wrong, those that I know who started mediation are like over 20 years old in the practice, for those who know. Number two, Robert Maraga, that same article talks of other traditional forms of dispute resolution that are acknowledged by this constitution, which has been happening. Our traditional systems of wazee wanakaa chini na wanaamua na wanasema hiyo isitoke kwenye lile lango. So even in our villages, those traditional justice systems have been happening. Whether it has been a mediation or arbitration or trying to reconcile people, at least something has been happening on the ground. Coming now to what we would call the formal practice of mediation, for me, if I search my background very well, I know it has been here for over 20 years. My own teacher has done it for over 20 years. In fact,
it's the awareness that is a bit low.
That's the word.
And Cynthia is actually concerned on that. Cynthia Wegaki is asking, thank you so much, Cynthia, for watching. She's asking, are church leaders or village elders allowed to mediate or to be form of the alternative justice practitioners? Are they allowed?
I've used the key word there, mediate. If indeed they are mediating, they are doing the right thing.
But if they are,
but not saying, the Bible says you should love your wife or your husband. It's not about the Bible here. As much as we will quote, if we are Christians, we will quote it at some other point. But I'm not going to insist to you, for example, if you're a case of domestic violence, I will not bring you here and I'll say, yes, you've been married, how many years? 20 years. Are you going to let all these 20 years go to waste? You know the Bible says what God has put together.
But Christine, what do you want them to do?
Listen,
what do you want them to do?
They need to be trained on mediation.
But mediation, you're saying they should not come up and say this is what the Bible says, right? They are church leaders, they are village elders. All they know as church leaders is the Bible. The court, all they know is the law. What does mediation present? What is it that guides you as a certified professional mediator when you sit before a case? What do you use? Because you have said several times that you need not to take sides. So you will not look at me and say, according to how I listened, you are truly a victim and you need justice. What is it that guides you? Because the Bible is a very good guide for the church leaders. The law is a very good guide for the courts. What does mediation use?
Let me say
it's very easy to just fall on one side.
You can't fall on one side. Let me say this. The courts do not always use. Because
I thought the court has no feelings.
Let me finish. Because now, like I told you previously, from 2015, we have the pilots in the 13 courts in the country.
Yes.
So they are already embracing mediation. And I gave two typical examples of the family division and the commercial divisions of the High Court in Milimani, where they are already working very successfully. Because even for them, they have seen it takes too long before you actually listen to one case and even determine it. It takes several years, or even in a day, you can only listen to 1 or 2 cases at most.
True.
Number two, I have said the clergy will use the Bible, but not at first.
Okay.
Because what the mediators do, they will listen to either side. And they will ask either side to come to a point whereby they will agree on their way forward. And last time I said, they even write what we call a settlement agreement, which reflects the thinking of the disputants, not the thinking of the mediator. The work of the mediator is only to facilitate. And that is why I'm saying our clergy, and I'm also glad because several of them are inviting me to train them. As much as they use the Bible, they have to know how mediation is conducted. Because mediation is different from preaching. With all due respect, mediation is different from preaching. And this is where now my verse of whatever God has put together, let no man, that's a preaching aspect in my view, if you are able to conduct it the right way. And the last one, mediators worldwide subscribe to one code. Either the code of conduct or the code of ethics, and the way they are trained. Whether a mediator is being trained in South Africa or West Africa or Europe or Latin America, all of them are, for the viewers, they use the same curriculum or the same syllabus. It is the same. And even the number of hours to be trained are the same. You're not going to be trained for like a whole year where others were trained for two days, the professional ones. And that is why I insist professional, because there are some who do quasi-mediation, there are some who are quacks and not actually mediators. So there is what they know they need to follow. And do you know what? I would be very, very, very happy if all community leaders, if all wazes, the Cholencheke, the who, if all of them were trained on mediation, if our clergy, if the imams and the sheikhs, and I hope Dr. Hassan, Sheikh Hassan, and the Abu Hamza are listening to this. If all of them are trained, indeed, we would have like the magistrates almost sit a whole day. So if and you know again, they even and even listen to the case and not mediate it from your human point of view in terms of, by the way, this one, what Sadaka who had, so I'm going to judge it not in your favor. So let them be trained and be trained in the right way. It's going to be very easy. Let me tell you one thing. I'm Catholic myself, and I engage so much with our clergy. And I always ask them, by the way, were you trained on law? They say yes. I ask them which law? They say canon law. Good. Then I tell them there are these other laws. And they are like, we are glad if we receive this training because we are not a jack of all trade. So if many were able to accept that, yes, the Bible is here, before I tell them let no man put asunder, I'll have gone through a system whereby, or a process whereby I'm not infringing on the right of either, and that at the end of the day, each person has been heard and they themselves have come up with a way forward. Then that would be okay.
Good.
So I don't know whether that was Robert or who. In fact,
that was Cynthia. That was
Cynthia. Good, yes. Cynthia. In fact, if many of them would agree, and there are some who are very good, I can tell you. There are some who have been trained. There are those who even say, this is the way I'm going to do it. That when you get to his office, you're not looking at him as a pastor. You're now looking at him as a mediator.
As a mediator.
Yes.
That's really good. Thank you so much, Christine. We have just gotten out of time like that. And I would like you this time to probably tell us your last words. I know time
Thank
really
you very
flies.
much. Time flies so fast. I don't know whether we are going to get to negotiate with you so that you give more time, because I know if you did this consistently, there will be so many viewers coming up and watching. Remember what I have said. Whatever you do to your brother, remember you'll be judged by it. What you'd want done to you, do it to the others for the beauty of mankind. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with me. For the clergy, Cynthia, and any other, I'm more than willing to come and train them. Could I give my number?
Okay.
07, my number is 0721 685240. 07685240. Thank you. Thank you once again. Even individuals can get trained, and together we are going to make this world a peaceful place that God meant it to be.
Oh, wow.
Asanteni.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christine. That was really great information. We are glad we were able to receive that for free just by watching.
Oh yes, anytime. Anytime.
Thank you so much, viewer, for watching this. It has really been a good time having you send in your comments and sharing in this conversation. My name is Betty. I have been your host. See you next time.
Through the online CLF World Conference last June, the hearts of Christian leaders have come back to the Word of God. The embers of a greater awakening are spreading throughout the world. Now, the time has come for Christian leaders, regardless of their denomination, doctrine,